So classification of settlements. What is the need for classification? To understand the nature of settlement, for example, it may be a dormitory town. To understand the nature, we need to classify. Next, anticipate the problems. There will be many problems. For example, in RUF, to understand the evolution of settlements, for example, 6 stages of the Lewis Mumford, and for comparative approach, for example, using the rank size rule, primate city, and CPT. So first type of classification is between rural and urban. Here infra will be poor, here it will be better. Agricultural related, manufacturing services, it will be planned, traditional and uniform culture, cosmopolitan and dynamic culture, high ethnic identity because of migration, high diversity, therefore low ethnic identity, traditional materials with the local traditional designs with the local building materials, better designs with modern building materials. Next, we have census turn and stature turn. Here, density is more than 500, population greater than 5,000, more than 75% male in non-agricultural activities. These are defined by laws of the institutions. Next, we have the UN classification, class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 or the rural areas. This is less than 5,000. This is 5,000 to 10,000, 10 to 20,000, 20 to 50,000, 50,000 to 1 lakh. But population size does not represent the nature of the settlement. For example, many villages in UP have huge populations, but they are not urban. Subjective classification of settlements. There are three schemes here. First one is the Houston scheme. He gave nuclear settlements, formative settlements, and mature settlements. Nuclear settlements are basically 4 cities in ancient times with a defined boundary, small and centered around a small location. Next, we have the formative settlements. These are urban sprawls with improving transport and ICT, high industrialization. So these are an expansion stage. Most of the Indian cities are in this stage. Next, we have mature settlements. These are modern cities, for example, European cities with high infrastructure and high quality of life. Next, Griffith Taylor, he is very similar to Houston. Infantile is similar to nuclear, juvenile is similar to formative, and mature are similar to mature settlement. Extra, he gave senior settlement, which are example is Fatehpur Sikri. Next, we have Louis Mumford. We have already seen this. Eopolis, Polis, Metropolis, Megapolis, Sternopolis, and Necropolis. This is dead city. Here will be crime, corruption. Here will be crowding and materialism. This has the best quality of life. This is original settlement. This is a small town. Next, we have the functional classification of settlements. Houston, Taylor, and Mumford. Their classification is extremely subjective and no data to back it. But functional classification, it will use two criteria, which are nature of economic activities and types of functions performed. First, we have ROCO scheme. For him, the criteria is the dominant function. So, based on the dominant function, he identifies 6 types of towns: administrative towns, defense towns, cultural towns, recreational towns, manufacturing towns, and transport towns. Examples of administrative towns are Brasilia, Islamabad, and Gandhinagar. Defense towns are Ambala, Jabalpur, and Edinburgh. Cultural towns are Mathura, Varanasi, and St. Petersburg. Recreational towns are Ooty and Las Vegas. Manufacturing towns are Bokaro, Coimbatore, and Pittsburgh. Transport towns are Kanpur, Frankfurt, and Guna. So the criticism is that lack of objectivity in terms of choosing the dominant function, and also one city can perform more than one functions. Next, C.D. Harris scheme. He gave this in his book Functional Classification of Cities in 1940. So he studied more than 900 cities, and he used 2 types of data: occupational data from informal service sources and employment data from formal sources. So on basis of this, he identified 9 functions, which are core manufacturing, specialized manufacturing, retail, wholesale, transport, education, mining, diversified, and others. So these two, on basis of this, he gave 4 groups, which are manufacturing, which consists these two, retail consists retail, wholesale consists wholesale. All these are grouped into services. So if more than 74% of workers are in this group, it is called M1 type or specialized manufacturing. If more than 45%, it is called M type or core manufacturing. If 50% in retail services, it's called retail town. 80% in wholesale services, it's called a wholesale town. It is called a diversified town if less than 60% manufacturers in manufacturing, less than 20% in wholesale, and less than 50% in retail. So all these boxes are ticked. It's called as a diversified town. So what is the limitation? So what is the basis for criteria? This 60%, 20% is not explained. So therefore there is subjective involved here. In exam, if asked about Duncan's classification, write C.D. Harris. Next, we have the Nelson scheme. So 2 main concepts he also uses are dominant function and intercity comparison. So he uses a mathematical method of standard deviation function. So he applies the statistical analysis of the entire settlement system. So not just one city like the C.D. Harris. So on basis of this, he identifies 9 types of functions and therefore 9 types of terms, which are manufacturing, retail, professional, wholesale, administrative, transport and communication, finance, insurance, real estate, and mining and personal services. For example, spas. Last, we have Ashok Mitra scheme, who gave his scheme on basis of 1961-1971 data census. So on basis of this, he identifies 9 functions and 3 categories. First one is the cultivators and agricultural labor. It is not clubbed into any category. Next we have mining, forestry and plantation workers, manufacturing workers, household industry and construction termed into manufacturing, trade and commerce, transport and communication into trade and transport, and other services as services. So on basis of this, he makes a triangular plot for intercity comparison. So on this plot, if someone is at the vertices, so that is a manufacturing town, it is a service town, it is a trade and transport town. But if it is on the other side of this, it is not a manufacturing town, so it is 0% manufacturing. And if it's in between, it can perform all the functions. So the more it is in between, it will be a more diversity function. So he gave 4 categories on this, so which are highly diversified town if less than 40%, moderately balanced city if it is 40 to 45%, specialized city if it's 45 to 50%, highly specialized city is greater than 50%. So we can see here, this is diversification will be more here, it will be more specialized going away from here.